Hey guys, well, I'm again on my beautiful Mekong River. Let me give you the view. It's almost mosquito time here in Krat in Cambodia, and the topic is Chuck is chucking the chuck. So what is that? Chuck is chucking the chuck. I'm gonna put two videos inside, one from Rebel Media, when girl is asking students in Ohio how they feel about trans people, trans men entering a female toilet, and normally a reaction is, well, it's a little bit uncomfortable for me. But then she proceeds, well, it's coming from the money, it's coming from the reptiles, well, it's coming from the authority. Then they go, well, she doesn't say that, she's coming, it's official. They go, oh, well, in that case, I guess in that case is okay.
Yesterday, it came to my attention that students at Humber College in the LGBTQ community were, in accordance with LGBTQ Awareness Week, pushing what's called a Safe, Inclusive Washrooms campaign. So this campaign is for trans, or what they call gender non-conforming folks, and they say that for these folks, using a public washroom can be an anxiety-provoking experience. So for instance, if someone's gender does not match the description on the bathroom door, that can cause anxiety for them. And so this campaign is about shifting the responsibility onto those inside the washroom to make that person feel comfortable. So they've created a poster advising students how to behave if they find themselves in this situation. And that poster has been or will be hung up in washrooms across both Humber College campuses. The poster reads this: if you're in a public washroom and you think someone's gender does not match the sign on the door, follow these steps. Number 1, don't worry about it. They know where they belong. So I thought, well, if I found myself in that situation, I'd most definitely be uncomfortable. I'd be uncomfortable dropping my pants in front of a stranger with a penis. Is that wrong? Does that make me transphobic? I don't think so. I think it actually makes me severely normal. Washrooms aren't just a place for people to gossip. It's where people use the toilet. It's where people undress. But who really cares what I think? I'm not a student at Humber. So instead, I decided to head to Humber College's campus to talk to students there. Watch their reaction. If a man, in your case, as a woman, were to come into the washroom dressed as a woman, how would you feel?
Violated.
At first maybe awkward because I wouldn't know what would be going on at first.
I feel kind of weird. I feel uncomfortable.
He's still a man, and we don't use the washrooms the same way, so I'll be a little bit uncomfortable with that.
I would feel so embarrassed, and then I feel yucky, kind of.
A little bit like, I don't know, I just don't see it all the time. I wouldn't think anything of it.
Well, it depends. Do you mean if he's like, you know?
Okay, so most suggested a certain level of uneasiness, awkwardness with the situation. But watch what happens when I explain how this is part of an LGBTQ awareness campaign. There's a safe washroom campaign that's going on at Humber, which is basically, if you're in the washroom and someone who walks into the washroom doesn't match your particular gender, the particular protocol for students at Humber would be, don't worry about it, they know what they're doing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I guess so.
I would want them to feel that if that's how they identify, then they should be there. But that is a good question. If he dresses a woman, he should still use the gents.
Well, I don't know. I never thought about it. Well, I think I agree with it. Yeah, I understand.
It's for, trans and everything, right? So I don't see a problem with it, to be honest.
There are 5 or 6 sexes. They insist that. I don't believe that.
If they knew what they were doing, sure.
Did you see what happened there? Most changed their tune. I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that this campaign makes people who feel uncomfortable for feeling uncomfortable. Do you follow me? Maybe not for all, but for some, I think this is about a fear of sounding transphobic, a fear of being politically incorrect. Sometimes, though, this isn't about political correctness, it's about common sense. And these activist campaigns serve to perpetuate a myth that these common sense emotions are somehow rooted in stereotypes and phobias. They're not. It's normal to feel that way, and no one should be made to feel bad about it. Anyway, those are my 2 cents. What do you think? For the Rebel.media, I'm Marissa Semkiw.
Chuck is chucking the Chuck. Chuck is the white guy who is completely hypnotized, frozen, and he's unaware of the fact of white genocide. Notice I'm not alt-right member because that's all reptilian program as well. But I'm aware of the white genocide as a reality, especially coming from a country which had 4.7 million 1991 and under 4 million right now. And that's the definition of genocide, right? And UN one. Put definition of genocide here. So chucking is the process when Chuck, the frozen white guy, is doing thinking process. What is he or she doing? In this case, Western person, is not a thinking process. A thinking process is when you have like at least inch of a free will, and then with that inch, which is like that big, and everything around is already programmed, as you can see on your screen, and then you inserting that inch of a free will, and you're trying to figure it out what's the reality. That's thinking, okay? More you expand that free will, more free you are. No, chucks, they don't do that. They do chucking. They have sets of instructions, which is, if I say white genocide, you say racist. If I say logic, you say racist. If I say that it's mostly black and white crime, I'm gonna put another video here.
This is sort of attack that even the perpetrator's family would be disgusted by, and we'd be calling on anybody who knows these people to contact the police and give us the identities of these people. It's indescribable that something like this incident would occur at a railway station that is, as you can see from the footage, it's clearly visible that the area is covered by closed-circuit television. And it's just blatantly occurring in an area where it's displayed that CCTV is around. We're very confident that we're going to be identifying these offenders in the short term, and I would appeal to them to give themselves up. Really, it's better for them in the long run that they come and see us rather than us come and have to see them. We're appalled by what's happened, but we obviously want to hear other sides of version of events also. The young man involved is a 23-year-old man from Sunshine. He's suffered some serious head injuries and facial lacerations as a result. He was unconscious for a number of minutes, and as you can see there, staggered quite markedly following the assault, and it's obviously had a great effect on him. He isn't available for this conference today due to those reasons of not wanting to be contacted by the police at the minute. The images that you've just seen prior to this opening now pretty much speak for themselves. It's a pretty appalling attack on a vulnerable young man who was by himself at the railway station at Sunshine in the early hours of the 24th, being yesterday.
You say racist. Okay, this is chucking. Now, notice one thing. All of these people in these videos are Chuck, but one thing you probably didn't notice, and I did. As a TI, I understand that there are at least three different groups of people. TIs like me, guys who can't even get a bank account in a bank because corrupt officials are asking for money. Then you have the neither targeted, neither privileged individuals, simply that gray majority, which are in this video. And then you have privileged people. So all these people who's been asked by her are, in my case, one of those two categories, either privileged people or simply non-targeted. And that defines Chuck. And Chuck is chucking the Chuck. The Chuck is the opinion of the Chuck, which is of course always as this river, yeah, reflection of Chuck. His opinion always gonna be reflection of the programming he received. So that was my reflection on Chuck is chucking the Chuck. Why is this? I think it's obvious. This psychological experiment here. Well, I'm simply proving you something what was proven by people who educated me. Yeah, that we don't really have free will. We just confirm by the rules of the system because we know very well if we don't confirm, then with the boot. That's the reality, right? And that's why exactly is Chuck chucking.
To answer that question, we set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Have a seat and they'll be out in just a couple minutes. Great, thanks so much.
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room. Here to explain what's going on in their brains is Jonah Berger of the University of Pennsylvania.
This sort of internalized form of herd behavior is part of what we call social learning. Starting at a very early age, when we see members of our group perform a task, our brains literally reward us for following in their footsteps.
When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
Conformity is how we become socialized, but it can also cause us to develop bad habits or repeat past wrongs.
And it's why even this rebel, who wasn't standing for any of this nonsense, eventually joined the ranks. And the only thing more shocking than seeing how easily conformity affects the way you act is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think